What's up, LEGO builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios for another week of building Cato Neimoidia in LEGO. This week is going to be wild. So now that the city's pretty much done, I've got a lot of the rock work figured out. I'm starting to wrap things up here, and there's one huge, there's one huge section that I have yet to wrap up, yet to finish, kind of yet to finalize, and that is what's going on, and that is the terrain underneath the city. So that huge expanse of just open studs that I really haven't done much with since the earlier updates of Cato Neimoidia. Most of you guys will probably remember, I plan on putting just a bunch of clouds down there. We'll have some ships battling out there, and we have some small mountain peaks. However, I really need to change that up, and I'm going to be talking about why in this episode and what I'm going to be replacing some of those sections with. All in all, it should be an action-packed week. If you are excited to figure out what's going on, if you're excited to see what these changes are, don't forget to execute Order 66 on that like button. And if you're down there and you haven't already, consider subscribing so you won't miss out on future updates, mocks, and projects on the channel. All that being said, it's time to get building. So I'm going to start out this week by putting down some studs for cloud work. I really haven't worked on this area at all since like the earlier updates, and I figured it was time to get back here because I was doing some math the other day and I realized it's going to be very expensive for me to finish putting down all of the studs. Like if I were to cover this whole area, I'm pretty sure it was going to cost me thousands of dollars. You heard that right. Thousands of dollars to put down a bunch of studs, and I can't afford that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to spend that much money on simply like a small minor detail, you know what I mean? So I'm going to be making some big changes here, and I'm going to be showing you guys what that's going to be after this time lapse is finished. But I figured I'd get some more cloud work done just because, you know, regardless of what I do, a good amount of this area is still going to be covered by studs. So I wanted to make sure that, you know, I didn't finish this mock and still have a ton of cloud work to do at the very end. All right, guys, let's check in and see what I've got done. So I got this whole base plate plated off with the studs. It looks pretty cool. I got a couple little cloud formations and hills, whatever you want to call them, built in. I didn't put too much in just because, like I said, I'm just going to get this first row down and just see how many studs I have and how many I'm going to need to do that, because the second layer is definitely a lot less important than the first one. Now, moving on to this. This is what I was alluding to in the speed build. I've been trying to figure out different ways to use less studs and basically take up more space down here just because I have so much space. Honestly, this section right here is bigger than the rest of the actual built mock, and it kind of feels like wasted space, to be honest. And so what I decided to do was put these little plateaus or mountaintops, cliff tops, throughout the mock and have clone troopers and droids and Neimoidians battling on them. You have cliffs that are this big. You have smaller mountain peaks right here that are this big. So it would make sense that you would have mid-range plateaus and cliffs, you know, in between that size. And so that's what I'm going to be doing with this, is I'm going to be creating these giant mountaintops bigger than this. This is just like a prototype that I built to kind of give you guys an idea of what I was talking about, where I could have different kinds of troops either battling on here, or, you know, the remnants left, or the remnants of a battle that took place where everybody got wiped out. I would like to make them probably about a base plate big, maybe a little bit bigger in length, width probably about, you know, that big. These are all pretty vague measurements just because I have to figure out logistically where these will fit, so I can also place gunships and other ships down here, and so they won't impede or get in the way of the hanging city. Honestly, I feel like this will be a great way to spice up the mock and just bring more to it, period. I could build some of these and have like little bases established on them, maybe some like fancy luxury apartments or some kind of maintenance compound or energy compound, just all different kinds of cool, fun little buildings and Easter eggs and stuff going on down here. That'll save me a ton of money because I won't have to buy as many of these studs. And this tile and plate I already have from Utapau that I haven't really used, so you can see I've got buckets of parts at my disposal. All in all, I think this is a pretty cool idea, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comments, what you think about this. and if you think it's a good idea or not. Don't put too much stock into like the looks of this plateau. I'm definitely going to change a lot of it. I'm going to change the way the sides look. I'm going to have the top part have a more layered look of different layers of plate that slowly get smaller and smaller. It'll overall just look better. This was just a quick prototype I threw together to give you guys kind of a rough idea of what I wanted to do. That's everything I have for this update. Time to get back to the grind. It's time to show you guys what I've been up to. So I took out that old prototype cliff top and put this newer one in. This one I focused a lot more on making the sides look better and more detailed, just more plateau slash cliff like. And one technique I started using a lot on these is these, I don't know if I'll be able to get it out, but 1x2x5 slope, but just putting it on its side with a headlight brick. That is a very useful technique because it allows me to use a bunch of these, which I just have tons and tons of them, and also it allows me to create that kind of angled slope look where I'm going this direction and that direction at the same time. So you'll definitely be seeing a lot more of that. I really like the look and kind of the vibe it gives to the cliff side. So on top of the cliff, this is kind of what I had envisioned for the having a bunch of like small, just random things on top of the cliffs, or maybe just troops battling. This one's got like a moisture condenser. Because the city's so high up, I figured, it's got to have some way of producing its own moisture, pumping water, getting water to the city. So basically what this does is it spins and sucks in moisture in the air and then brings it into this center capsule area. That turns the condensed air into a liquid and then, pumps it off to the city. Nothing too crazy, but I'm really happy with how this turned out. I feel like it looks pretty cool, pretty Star Wars-esque. It almost looks kind of like a Sarlacc. I enjoy doing builds like this because this allows me to really take advantage of my current parts collection. I built this entire thing with parts I had on hand. I didn't have to order anything in, and it's all nice and finished off. So stuff like that makes me happy when I can use, stuff that's just been sitting around in my bins, and I don't have to spend money buying new parts. This does have two different modes, so it's got the activated mode where these fans or wings are open while it spins, but when it's turned off, they fold up like this into a more conical shape. And I feel like either way, either one looks cool, so I can have them open or I can have them closed, depending on, what kind of look I want to go for up here. I do also have this area fenced off, that way no one gets too close to these spinning blades and gets their head chopped off. And then I did put a bunch of lights on the tops of the fences as well, just to keep this area well lit, that way starships or other flying things don't crash into it during the night or during the day. This is kind of the operation platform where you can work the controls of this turbine. You can see I've got a little computer here. It does also change height and move out closer to this center area. All in all, I feel like this little Easter egg area adds a lot to the mock, and I'm definitely going to be including more of these. This area down here was going to be so desolate and empty, but I'm so happy to be able to take the battle that's going on up here and spread it out across the whole mock. This will allow me to use more minifigures and tell more stories and create a better finished product for you guys. As far as the sizing of this goes, I think I want my next one to be a little bit bigger and a little bit taller. I'm thinking about doing 3. So I'm going to have this one right here this way, and then maybe one up over here going that way like that. So I'm still trying to figure out, what's going to go on top of those. But I think between the 3 of those, that should eat up a bunch of stud space and save me a lot of money there. Okay, here's the last look at the city for this week. So this area is the last section that needs to be finished, and I'm starting on what's going to go right here. I'm thinking of doing some kind of bank or just bank looking, like just official business looking building here. I'm not sure like what the backside's going to look like, but I'm starting to plan out this front area, and I wanted to put as much gold on as possible. So I've got these 3 gold pillars, and then the entryways will be on either side. Will be these 2 openings right here, and then I'm creating these arches above the pillars, and I want to try and accentuate these arches with these flower pieces. So I'm going to have a couple angled upwards like this on the outside, then a couple angled down just to help create that arch look, and I feel like it'll just make them look a little bit fancier. Let me know what you guys think of the flowers and the columns down below in the comments. I do have the steps leading up as well. Really all that's left is the building, and the reason I'm struggling with the building is because that's how much space I have to build the building. So honestly, at this point, I'm like, do I just create some kind of pavilion for people to go in, and I'll have like some tables and benches, where people can sit and talk and do stuff, kind of like, a community pavilion or something like that? Or should I just go with some kind of building facade? Basically, put doors right here so that it looks like the front of the building, but obviously it just isn't a building. if that makes sense, hopefully that makes sense. Let me know what you guys think would look better down below in the comments. I'm kind of leaning towards the pavilion just because, I'm going to have to put the entrance to the building right here, which would leave me about 3 bricks for the rest of the building. And I just feel like that might look weird. I don't know. I'll just play around with some more things and see how. As for this area, you can see I still have a lot of work ahead of me. I'm probably going to start focusing on this a little bit more now that I've got a lot of the city figured out and done. So I did get a bunch more studs. Got another 3,000 studs in, and then I have 2,000 more on the way. This is so many studs. I'm hoping it'll get me pretty far. I've got that plateau top mostly finished. I think probably what I'm going to do next is take out some of these cliff tops and then put another plateau in right here, and then maybe another one over there. I do have some more base plates coming in to continue to finish off this section, because I will need to get these base plates in before I can put the studs down, obviously. So expect more work over here. I think this should be pretty fun because you'll get to see a lot more builds like this where I can work through them really quickly, and you'll get to see, steady progress updates as well as a finished product, instead of like most of this stuff where you really only see mostly only see partially finished pieces. So that should be cool, and I think I have some cool ideas for what's going to go on top of these other plateaus. All in all, I'm really excited with where this mock is heading, and I feel like I'm nearing the end. All that being said, it's time to hit the outro. Another week down and 1 week closer to being finished. I'm pushing to get this done as quick as I can. I really want to see the finished product, and I really want to test out the city, make sure it can support its own weight and the cliffs won't come crashing down with the weight. I am excited to get a lot of that terrain down on the bottom done. I'm really happy with the changes I made down there, just because I felt like my ability to tell stories and to do cool little things was limited because of how much of that was supposed to be clouds and up above the cliffs, and up there's going to be no top to the cliff, so I couldn't do anything up there. So it was really just the city and then that little bunker area that I built. So this will allow me to just have more on the mock and be able to do more with this mock, which makes me happier and makes me a lot more excited to work on this project. All that being said, that wraps up this video. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Don't forget to let me know what you thought about all this down below in the comments, and I will catch you guys next time. But until then, happy building.